Welcome, everyone, to Time Warp 1984, 40th anniversary of movies and pop culture. And this is March of 1984. This is the Fandom Podcast Network. And we're always excited here to bring you time travel. And we're having a lot of fun with that this year. And as I mentioned, this is Time Warp. In this special episode of Time Warp, we're going to cover the year of pop culture, which includes the movies, the TV, music, and notable news of 1984. And everything is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, as of this recording in 2024. And of course, we are going to be discussing the month of March of 1984. With Time Warp this year, we are going monthly. This gives us a chance to dive deep into each month and all, of course, the movies and the pop culture surrounding them as well. I'm Kevin, your host, and I'd like to introduce my guests for this time travel journey back to 1984, but they're not my guests. They're my co-hosts, guys. Let's be serious here. And I'd like to welcome always as my brother from another mother, and of course, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Kyle Wagner. What's going on, buddy?
I would like to take this time to make a very special announcement. I am retiring from the smuggling game because I have learned that when you try to smuggle mermaids and space herpes, it's a bad combination.
Well, just be careful while you're doing that, and you're not also romancing the stone. So there you go.
I had to go through a spinal tap. It wasn't fun.
Oh, God, that one hurts. Oof, gosh, yeah. All right, as always, with us is the queen of movie food, Lacee. What's going on, girl?
Hello. Yeah.
Good to see you. Welcome. And as I mentioned, guys, of course, this is Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback Show here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We're discussing the movies of 1984 and all the pop culture wrapped around it. And month that we are covering right now is March of 1984. You're thinking, well, what happened in March of 1984? Well, there was some stacked movies coming out. We'll get into that in a minute. I did want to mention, of course, some stuff that has been on the Fandom Podcast Network recently regarding Time Warp is, of course, we had our Buffy series retrospective. Make sure you check that out. I'm still in the season 6 of my rewatch, enjoying that some weird stuff's happening right now. Willow, oof, man, she's misusing some magic there. I'll tell you that right now. And also, too, her nemesis for Buffy, the 3 nerd guys. Those guys are cracking me up. I love those guys. So, the first episode we had this year, we, of course, covered Time Warp 1981 Part 1, and we covered January of 1984. Stuff like Airwolf and Angel and Hot Dog the Movie. And then, of course, last month, the most recent one we did was February. We had Footloose, Blame It on Rio, Lassiter, Remington Steele. We talked some Webster, and of course, some Duran Duran. But this month, we got some good ones here, like Spinal Tap, Splash, Romancing the Stone, Repo Man, Ice Pirates, and Police Academy. Quickly, Lacee, this month of March, when I was doing some of my rewatches on this, it almost felt like work. I'll tell you that because of all the good stuff that was happening.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I only pulled 3 discs this time just because there were so many to choose from. I think that by the time you hit the mid 80s, they were really starting to cater towards like teenage dollars, and so a lot of the stuff that came out in March, because back in the day, March was spring break for the whole, for the whole country. It's not like it is now where spring breaks in April sometime and they kind of do like an April Easter thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that you'll see a lot of stuff in March. And I think when we hit June, July, August, it's going to be huge as well.
Kyle, I wanted to ask you real quick because I know you've been a busy man and I know you haven't been able to catch up on a lot of this stuff. I know you've seen a lot of this stuff, but it might have been a while, right?
Yeah, some of it's been a while. I tried to catch up on a couple of things or at least refresh some stuff that I had seen. There's a couple on here that I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen. I've never seen Repo Man. And I just didn't get a chance to see it. But I did recently here within the last few weeks watch the Ice Pirates. I watched a little bit of Romancing the Stone. Watched a little bit of Splash to remind myself of it. But this is a very stacked month of movies, and this is really kind of surprising when you consider the time frame. This is like a good quality summer movie month.
Yeah,
it's happening in March.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to get to here, guys, and as always, we got some time warping to do. So, but First, let's take a step back into 1984. Let's fuel up the DeLorean with the flux capacitor, slingshot around the world and the sun aboard that captured Klingon bird of prey. Take a step into that blue police box or phone booth, step into that quantum leap accelerator, or my favorite, take a dip in that hot tub time machine real quick. We've been doing some time travel stuff recently on Culture Class, showcasing time travel stuff. What else am I missing? Wormholes.
Telephone booth.
What's that, Lacey?
Phone booth. Bill and Ted.
Oh yes, I did. That is a phone booth.
The time traveling motorcycle.
It's true. Yes.
But come on, let's be honest. Nobody wants to take the last time travel thing we had, which was faxing through yourself through a wormhole to a certain point in time.
Kyle is referencing the 2003 movie Timeline. This is correct, sir. But let's go ahead and go back into time. All right. So stuff was happening in 1984, guys. I love this meme here with Fry from Futurama. I'm not sure if it's 1984 or Brave New World. So we'll go back with throw out some cost of livings here. Of course, inflation rate went up, of course, 4.3%. What was this one I found here? In Chicago, Illinois, your brick Tudor 3-bedroom, all modern appliance, double garage sun deck house was $120,000. Is this house similar to what was in Home Alone? Because I think the Home Alone house might have been a little more expensive. I'm just saying.
Just a tad.
No, that'd be about right, I think.
And a Corvette was $23,000. Like,
Mhm.
how much are those now? Like pushing over $100,000 now? Jeez.
Was this before Hardcastle McCormick brought up the value of the Corvette?
I think so. Yes. Some world news here, guys. We'll mention here. Of course, we'll go into this a little bit more. But March 2nd, This Is Spinal Tap mockumentary is released in the U.S. The film popularized the term up to 11. And March 5th, Iraq is accused of using chemical weapons against Iran. The use of mustard gas on the Majnoon Island is thought to have caused 2,500 casualties. March 6th, at Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport, Louisiana, Gary Plauché shoots and kills Jeff Doucette. The vigilante killing is captured on film by a TV crew who were filming Doucette arriving in Louisiana to stand trial for the kidnap and sexual assault on Plauché's son, Jody. I seem to remember this. I don't remember them showing like everything, but I remember this news because I think it also made it into Time magazine, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think there's been a Law or Order episode or two that's covered this.
Yeah, and this one I remember too because it took place here in California where I'm recording from. March 22nd, 7 people are charged with satanic ritual abuse of school children at the McMartin Preschool in Manhattan Beach, California. The McMartin Preschool trial becomes the longest in U.S. history, and all 321 charges are eventually dropped due to testimony from the children being coerced by an unlicensed therapist. Ugh, God. More lighter news. March 24th, Lionel Richie's single Hello tops the UK chart and remains there for 6 weeks, and also did quite well over here in the US charts. And I have never seen this, guys. March 27th, the musical Starlight Express opens in London at the Apollo Victoria Theater. Lacey, have you ever seen the Starlight Express? It looked like so much. That's the one with roller skates, right?
I saw it in 1984 at the Apollo Theater in London.
Oh,
yeah.
Tell me really quick, what was that like?
Well, wait. Was it? Hold on. I might have my dates wrong. Might have been 86.
Okay.
Because it ran it was a long run, and it lasted for 25 something years. I mean, but yeah, it's each person represents a specific car of the train. So you've got Ashley, the smoking car, and Electro is the.
I am remembering roller skates, right?
Oh yeah, they're all on roller skates. And
okay.
The cool part was that like all of the stage, there were like ramps that went all the way up, all the way to the top, to the back, and everything. And they would do like the track, and they're singing, and I'm like, what? It was.
That
insane.
Sounds like fun.
Greaseball was the diesel engine, and like it was really. It's weird, but it was really fun. It was basically like a live action Thomas the Train Engine.
I think we need a revival of Starlight Express. I'm just saying that'd be
nice.
Really cool. All right, guys, we got some born in 84 celebrities, guys. And you might recognize some of these names. Of course, we got Olivia Wilde, actress and model. Rob Brown, actor. Jamie Alexander, actress. Justine Ezark, an internet celebrity and actress. That name I don't remember. Christy Carlson Romano, actress and singer. Chris Bosch, basketball player. Catherine McPhee from American Idol. Singer, songwriter, and actor. Sarah Jean Underwood, model and host. And Anna Nalick, singer. Yeah.
I need a minute after you talk about Sarah Jean Underwood. So
I saw Catherine on Broadway in Waitress, and she was amazing. I saw her.
Can you say you cut out for a second? What was that?
I saw Catherine McPhee's final performance of Waitress on Broadway.
Ah, okay.
It was fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, she's a good singer. What's the name of that TV show? Is it Scorpion?
Scorpion, yeah.
Scorpion, yeah, that's right. We have some deaths in 1984. We have Jackie Coogan, American actor. William Powell, American actor. Henry Wilcoxon, British actor. June Marlowe, American actress. Arnold Ridley, English playwright and actor. Ken Carpenter, American Olympic athlete. Paul Francis Weber, American lyricist. Sam Jaffe, American actor. And Jack Donahoe, American film screenwriter and director.
Pretty sure Jackie Coogan was Uncle Fester.
Yeah, that name sounds really familiar.
And his grandson is Keith Coogan, who played the oldest boy in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yes, love Keith Coogan. Yeah, love that guy. We got some technology. Oh, Kyle, do you have something? Sorry.
I just wanted to confirm that Jackie Coogan was in fact Uncle Fester.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you for doing so. Appreciate that, guys. 1984 tech, guys. This is interesting. So we have now I'm going to see if I can pronounce this gentleman's name. Fujio Masuoka, if I'm saying his name. This guy's kind of important. Say that again, Kyle.
Masuoka.
Masuoka. All right. Flash memory and storage. Fujio invents flash memory in 1984 while working for Toshiba, capable of being erased and reprogrammed multiple times. Flash memory quickly gained a loyal following in the computer memory industry. Although, what's that?
Throw some wheels on that, and it looks like an R2 unit.
That's a different unit. That's a different item. We're talking about the guy right now. Although his idea won praise, he was unhappy with that. Unhappy with what he saw as Toshiba's failure to reward his work, and he quit to become a professor at Tohoku University. Bucking Japan's culture of company of loyalty, he sued his former employee, demanding compensation, settling in 2006 for a one-time payment of looks like in US dollars, $758,000. There you go. Are you familiar with this guy, Kyle?
Well, I mean, his flash memory is pretty important. I mean, we're still using it today. We wouldn't have solid state drives if it wasn't for flash memory. So yeah, he's kind of
important dude in tech.
Yes.
Now the rope.
Sweet. He looks like a sweet little grandpa.
I know, right? Yeah.
He looks just so nice. Like he's gonna like bring tea and like cookies and yeah. He just looks like a sweet little man.
The robot that you were referring to in this picture here, because if you're listening to the audio podcast, make sure you check out the video because we've got slides for all of this. That is the Heathkit Hero Jr. robot. Heathkit introduces the Hero Jr. home robot kit, one of the several robots it sells at time. Hero Jr. could roam hallways, guided by sonar, play games, sing songs, and even act as an alarm clock. The brochure claimed it seeks to remain near human companions by listening for voices. AI, Terminators. Kyle?
I have a question for you, Kevin, because I think you should, if anybody can answer this, you could. Because that looks awful familiar. Are you sure this wasn't the first test model for what Wilbur Hood was going to actually carry on the Wilbur Hood run?
Are you talking about, the ice cream maker? Yeah, that's right. What's interesting, though, is like a lot of robots are becoming a thing. I was at a flea market yesterday, and they had the Radio Shack version of their toy robot, but it was kind of beat up, though, so I didn't get it. But, the robots around the house are becoming popular, and if you were rich like Rocky, you would have one in your mansion, So I just thought that the robot was making a thing, and now look where they are. So, yeah. Next, we have products that were introduced in 1984, guys. And these are some, like, legendary ones. First of all, we had Cinnamon Toast Crunch, known as known, of course, in French and UK under things that I cannot pronounce, and has a variant called Cinny Minis in other European and Latin American countries. Is a brand of breakfast cereal produced by General Mills and Nestle. First produced in 1984, the cereal aims to provide a taste of cinnamon toast in a crunch cereal format. The cereal consists of small squares or rectangles of wheat and rice covered with cinnamon and sugar. The cereal is puffed, and when immersed in milk, it makes a snap noise similar to Rice Krispies. In most European countries and North America, the product is sold in boxes. In Poland and Russia, this cereal is sold in bags. Guys, tell me you had some Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lacey.
I had some this morning. Also, in France, it's called, or in French, it's a croque cannelle.
Croque cannelle. All right, Kyle, did you have the cinnamon toast?
I had it. I'm gonna say I had one problem with it. It got soggy really fast.
It did. It did. You had to eat it kind of quick, but damn, it was good. But it did make the milk taste really good. I remember that. It was a really good, like, there's certain, like a lot of these cereals, if you let it kind of soak in the milk and maybe it would change color as well, it was nice to sip all that sugar up later. I'm sorry, Kyle. What was that?
It's not working.
Clap on, clap off. That was next. The clapper is introduced. I love this picture here too. I liked how you always had like the little old lady in bed and she would like do this over exaggerated big clap thing, you know?
Right. Yep.
The clapper is a sound activated electrical switch sold since 1984 by San Francisco, California based Joseph Enterprises Incorporated. Joseph Pedot marketed the clapper with the slogan, "Clap on, clap off, the clapper." And it was just that little jingle that would just get stuck in your head. The clapper plugs into US type electrical outlets and allows control of up to 2 devices plugged into the clapper. An upgraded model known as the Clapper Plus included a remote control function in addition to the original sound base activation. Although meant to activate by clapping, the clapper can inadvertently be triggered by other noises, which I remember very, very much at my friend's house.
Dogs barking.
Yes.
What?
And sometimes you'd be messing with like your parents or whatever, and like they'd be reading by the light, and you go, "Well, fine, if I can't go outside."
I just remember that if you were watching The Price is Right, you could be watching The Price is Right, and then they would applaud, and then everything would go off. But the thing is, if the TV was attached to the clap, and then it would turn your TV off. And that's what happened at my friend's house.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Now you feel like it would be that it would only be sold at like, you know, as seen on TV stores, you know.
No, the most dangerous words if you owned a clapper were live in front of a studio audience.
Yeah, this is true. Yes. Guys, what do you say we get into some toys? Totally tubular 80s toys, and the 3 that we have chosen here are the Barbie Dream Store fashion department, and sold for $19.99 by Mattel. The Barbie Dream Store fashion department has 3 displays for dresses, jewelry, and accessories. Look at Barbie just killing it there. Look at that. You know, if I had this, I would buy like 3 or 4 of them, make a little department store, and then like maybe act out scenes from movies. Is that too weird?
I think that's probably the goal.
Yes.
Wait. Hey, Kevin, come on. You were just going to put this on the right next to your Enterprise D set, and it was going to be just one of the side rooms for the crew to go to get new outfits.
Yeah, or I'd have like my G.I. Joes fight Cobras and like, you know, like crash into the displays and stuff. That would be kind of fun, you know. So the next we have is the ROM Tech Color Vision. Color Vision, it's basically it's a tiny little desktop video game system. And this particular one here looks like it's got Donkey Kong on the screen. The Color Version is a handheld video game console developed and manufactured by Hong Kong-based company RomTech Enterprises, and it was released in Hong Kong and Europe in 1984. It is the first handheld video game console to have colored sprites on an LCD screen instead of overlays or VFD displays. Previous systems like the NTEC Select-A-Game had games that came with overlays to enhance the graphics and play experience with only the cartridges needed on the Color Vision. It was manufactured and released by RomTech, but the console was also distributed under several brands, including Altic, Brazen, and Bristol. Kyle, did you ever have one of these or knew someone that had one of these color visions?
I knew somebody who had one, and the biggest thing I remember with those was that never responded real well to your joystick movements.
Yeah, the joystick movements.
Yeah, you'd move the joystick, and it would always be a little bit of a delay, and usually
it's weird with the picture. It looks like the scene is real. The screen is really inset kind of deep into the game. Maybe that's so that it protects the light. You can see these are either I guess in like bright rooms or whatever stuff like that. But it looks kind of sharp, pretty cool. The last thing we have is the Sega SG-1000, guys. The Sega SG-1000, a home video game console manufactured by Sega. It was Sega's first entry into the home video game hardware business, developed in response to a downturn in arcades starting in 1982. The SG-1000 was created on the advice of Hayao Nakayama, president of Sega's Japanese arm. It was released on July 15th, 1983, that same day that Nintendo released the family computer in Japan. It also saw limited release in Australia and New Zealand. Now, it says here that the SG-1002 released in 1984, supported by a library of 76 ROM cartridge games and 29 Sega MyCard games. The third iteration of the console, Mark III, was released in 1985. Kyle, didn't you just pick up some Sega game system? I'm guessing it wasn't this one.
No, this one was the precursor to probably what was really the first well-known Sega system in the United States, the Sega Master System. Now, what I just picked up recently was the Sega Genesis, probably the best, most popular Sega system ever made. But mine also came with the power adapter, which allowed you to play the Sega Master System games and those little Sega card games on it. Because when the Sega Master System came out, they included a slot for those Sega card games. I have picked up a few Sega Master System games off eBay and such, and yes, it's a little rough on some of these modern televisions, but it's still fun. But yeah, Sega really hit its peak with the Genesis. They tried to compete with Nintendo with this system and the Sega Master System, which had a great slogan. Now you're playing with power. But yeah, just never caught on to the Genesis, and the Genesis was the game changer that changed the video game wars for forever.
Say it right, Kyle. Come on.
Sega or
no. There you go.
Either way works. Either way is acceptable.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and do some music. Right, here is our music segment of Time Warp 1984 March. And March was interesting, guys. Kind of important as well. Remember Sting, that guy from the Police? He plays his last concerts with the Police at the end of the Synchronicity tour. The band takes a pause, in quotation marks, after the tour and only play a few special events together after this until 2007 when they would organize a reunion tour. This was a big deal, guys. Sting goes solo. Single. He goes solo, and he was quite successful in his solo career, but we all wanted to see Police back, right?
I'm a big fan of Sting's solo career too. So
yeah.
I think we win both ways.
Now,
music, woo.
Another guy that kind of decided to take a little break here, guys. Alice Cooper, who had not toured for his last two albums, parts ways with his longtime label Warner Brothers and goes on a hiatus from the music industry. Cooper begins mulling over plans for a comeback, which he would carry out in 1986. But in the meantime, the 84 Grammy Awards, it looks like his date was Elvira. How cool is that? Cassandra Peterson hanging out with Alice Cooper. There you go.
I have a friend who had a giant, like oversized, don't know how it got that big, Pomeranian named Alice Cooper.
I love that. That's great. All right, guys. Next, we have our top songs of 1984, the Billboard Hot 100. And we like to, of course, pick a few at a time and chat about them. We're going to talk about songs from 84 through 76, starting with 84. Time Will Reveal by DeBarge. Think of Laura by Christopher Cross. Church of the Poison Mind by Culture Club. Nobody Told Me by John Lennon. Breakin' There's No Stopping Us by Ollie and Jerry. Holiday by Madonna, Thriller by Michael Jackson, I Still Can't Get Over Loving You, Ray Parker Jr., and I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters. Lacey, you got a few favorites out of these?
Okay, Thriller, of course. I gotta tell you, the only reason I can't listen to the song "I'm So Excited" without thinking of Jesse from Saved by the
No,
Bell.
steal my thunder, Lacey. Steal my thunder.
I can't not see
One of the greatest moments in television history. Come on.
Yeah.
Poor old Jesse hopped up on pills singing I'm So Excited.
Yep.
Those damn caffeine pills.
But the other one, I literally don't even know. I think I probably heard Holiday, but I don't think I recognize any of the other ones. I honestly didn't know that Ray Parker Jr. had released music other than the single for Ghost, but I had no idea.
Yeah, I forget about this too. I'm with you there, Lacey. Kyle, any here jump out at you?
There's no one stopping us, Kevin, because no one does it better, man.
The Church of the Poison Mind. The Church of the Poison Mind will come on every now and then, and I forget about it, but it's got a cool little hook to it. I like that song.
It's got a great hook to it.
Yeah,
come on, but yeah, no. I mean, you took Thriller still just dominating. He's in the top 100 now for like God knows how many weeks. But yeah, to me, Breaking and Church of the Poison Mind, like you said, it has a great hook to it, but there's no stopping us. I mean, that song was huge at the time.
I remember Holiday. I want to say that was in a movie or commercials as well, but yeah,
I think it was a movie.
All right, I think it's time to get into some television. All right, we got some 1984 in television, guys, and we got some interesting debuts in March. And March 6th, I don't remember this TV show at all. It's called AKA Pablo. It was on ABC. And the picture that I have up here is a television ad. And you got B. Arthur and Paul Rodriguez. And B. Arthur is Get an American Name. And it says Pablo's new press agent wants him to change him from Latino to Gringo. 8:30 p.m. on ABC. AKA Pablo is a Mexican American living with his family in California as he struggles to break into the world of stand-up comedy. Paul, aka Pablo, is a Mexican American living with his family in California as he struggles to break into the world of stand-up comedy. His efforts meet with success, but his use of Mexican stereotypes to win over Anglo-Saxon audiences does not go over well with his family. Paul must find some way to balance the two if he wants to live in peace. Creators are Norman Lear and Rick Mitz. Stars, of course, Paul Rodriguez. Co-stars Hector Elizondo, Joe Santos, and, of course, as I mentioned, B. Arthur. Kyle, do you remember the show?
I don't remember the show, but come on. Paul Rodriguez should have had the career that George Lopez ended up having.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And there's no way the show gets made today, by the way.
Yeah, this is very true. Lacey, do you remember the show?
I feel like yes. I think that it was. I remember there being a talk show. Maybe it was like Oprah, or probably before that, like I don't know, John Davidson, maybe like an afternoon show where he was going on there talking about how this was like a biography, like an autobiographical situation, kind of like tales. I don't know if it was at the time or if I saw this later, but I don't remember the show.
I remember Paul Rodriguez's stand-up, and he's been in a lot of other films too. Yeah. And I thought he was funny. I thought he was great, but I have no memory of this show. Yeah. And I know for a fact that it did not last long, and we'll be bringing that up later. Trivia quiz. This was the first videotape series to use 7-camera setup. 3-camera is the standard setup. So that's interesting. The next show, I do remember well, and I watched it religiously. March 19th, Kate and Allie air on CBS. While Allie Lowell divorces her husband and gets custody of their 2 children, she moves to New York City and moves in with her best friend, Kate McCardle, also divorced and raising a daughter. They form a unique kind of family unit in this comedy from the 1980s, starring Susan St. James, Jane Curtin, Frederick Kohler, Ari Myers, who I crushed on big time back in the day, and Allison Smith. Kyle, your thoughts on Kate and Allie?
It's an all-time classic. I might have been crushing on Ari Myers just a little bit,
Ari Myers was the blonde, or was the brunette girl, by the way, the brunette
Yes,
daughter.
yes. Of course, and Susan St. James, James Curtin, both classics. I mean, this is one of those shows that it hit and it just stayed a hit for a very long time.
It did, yeah. Lacey, did you watch Kate and Allie?
I did watch Kate and Allie. We loved Kate and Allie in our house. I have two cousins that were both pregnant at the same time, or that were slightly older than me, obviously. And they each had a daughter about 3 months apart. And unintentionally later on, I was like, wait a minute, you have kids named Kate and Allie. And I'm the one who put it. Everybody was like, oh, because it's Allison and Kate. Anyway, so yeah, we actually have Kate and Allie in our family.
That's great. I love that. I love this. I love these old newspaper ads too. Kate and Allie, 9 p.m. CBS.
I also feel like in the 80s, any lesbian that brought her roommate home, her friend home, like this is what the parents envisioned. Is like, oh, they're just roommates. Oh, they're just good friends. Like I feel like this is like perpetuating that stereotype of like.
It's true.
Like
this is very. Is this a Kate and Allie thing? Yeah.
Yeah, like every parent who was like terrified that their child might end up, choosing something or whatever. Yeah, I think
they did when Susan St. James became pregnant during the show's 4th season. They did all the tricks to hide the pregnancy, but this was also Kelsey Grammer's TV debut, which I found interesting here. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. And Jane Curtin and Susan St. James previously starred together in a movie on how to beat the high cost of living, so they of course were friends. Now, I found this TV series that debuted. I know it didn't last long. I did not know this show existed, guys. Debuted March 20th, called Shaping Up on ABC. And the ad says, "Come visit the hottest health club in town, Shaping Up, a very physical comedy. Laughter gets a workout at Buddy's, the town's hottest health club." And it's about a guy, Buddy Fox, played by Leslie Nielsen, proprietor of a health club, is still in shape and vibrant for his chronological age. He draws a younger clientele at his business by employing the fit manager, Ben, plus aerobics teachers, Shannon and Melissa, one of them played by Jennifer Tilly. Also co-starring Sean Weatherly, Kathy Sheriff, and Jake Steinfeld. Do you guys remember Jake Steinfeld, like the workout guy? The guy Jake, he did a lot of like commercials.
Yeah. Body by Jake.
Body by Jake. Yes. He was in this series as well. I had no idea. And it does say in the trivia here, the series was canceled only after 5 episodes.
Can we just say that the 80s were the greatest time ever for the shortest TV show runs ever?
Yeah.
Man.
I know, right?
I'll tell you what.
It was cutthroat. But what's interesting is if you think about a what if scenario, Leslie Nielsen, he's the older guy with this club, right? What if this show takes off? Like, does he end up doing, the Naked Gun stuff? Does he become like the parody guy still? Imagine if this thing had like an 8-year run. How would it be different? What would and make Tilly doing this thing here? It's just weird, Now, one show that did stick around for a while, guys, and we all want to know. This was Cribs before Cribs. This was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, premiered March 31st, 1984, with Robin Leach, a look inside the homes and daily lives of celebrities and other power people, marking the start of a new era of celebrity worship. This program spotlighted the eccentricities and excess of a different member of the rich and famous each week. Special attention was always given to the price paid for the various luxuries with which the upper crust enhanced their daily lives, ranging from spacious seaside villas to classic cars to gold-plated bathroom fixtures. And we had Robin Leach as the main host, of course. We did have Sherry Belafonte also do a co-host, and Morgan Fairchild came on there. Guys, do you remember this coming on, Kyle?
Oh, of course you remember this coming on. The question is how many people actually watched it for the homes, or how many people actually watched it because they were trying to figure out a way, how in the hell can I deck Robin Leach? Because this is a pompous bastard.
We watched this at my grandparents' house over like summers and stuff. And we would all just because it came on at like 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. It was like right after the news, probably a rerun. And we would we'd like 6 or 8 of the kids, like all the cousins, and then grandma and grandpa, and we'd all sit and watch. And there was always just crazy. And I think that there was one season where all they did was yachts, like super yachts or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, but
it was crazy.
the other important thing here is what one of his co-hosts being the ever amazing Morgan Fairchild. And Kevin, as a Friends fan, you should know the absolute importance of Morgan Fairchild.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I didn't watch the show all the time, but when I could, I would, because this was fascinating. We never really got a firsthand look into the rich and how they lived. This was a big deal for fans, and this might have popularized, because celebrities were watching the show, going like, "Why don't I have that?" And so there's competition going on, like trying to outdo each other, and I'm sure people were going like, "Wait, he's that rich or she's that rich?" So yeah, it was a fascinating show. I loved it.
It was the earliest version I can think of TMZ.
And it was also
I'm
like,
sorry, Kyle. Of what?
Of TMZ. It started. I think it kind of started that, like, we really want to be into the lives of our celebrities.
Yeah.
and I feel like it had more helicopter shots than any show of the time.
Probably.
They always did the overhead shot of
Yeah.
because they wanted to show the pool, the tennis courts, and all that kind of stuff, and then they.
Yeah, I'm sure they had their own lifestyles, rich and famous, like decked out helicopter doing those shots. We did have some TV ending this year, and a show called We Got It Made. But here's the interesting thing, though. It actually returned briefly in '87. And this was a short-lived sitcom, actually lived two lives, once on NBC and again in syndication. Two Manhattan bachelors, neat freak attorney David Tucker and unkempt salesman Jay Bostwick, decide to hire a housemaid. Enter Mickey McKenzie, a stunningly beautiful 20-something woman, starring Terry Copley as, of course, the woman, with Tom Villard and Ron Karabatos. I remember this vaguely, but I definitely remember Terry Copley because I remember seeing her in a bunch of other stuff. Kyle, do you remember this?
I don't remember I don't ever remember seeing this. I do remember, like you, I remember seeing Terry Copley and other things, but no idea on this show.
Now, if you look closely at the picture here, guys, the color cast photo, the guy on the right, I'm forgetting his name, but he was the one that was in the Surf 2 movie.
Tom Villard. This is the last thing he did before he passed.
Yeah, he passed away soon after this. I was going to mention. Say his name again.
Tom Villard.
Tom Villard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of those character actors. He did a lot of like early '80s stuff. Yeah,
so. And he was in Grease.
That's right.
Like some of the dancing stuff. Yeah.
One of the things we also like to do during our TV segment here, guys, is also discuss a few very popular top-rated shows at this time. And of course, what we had going on is Scarecrow and Mrs. King out of the top 30. This was number 22. And this one it was around 17 million viewers on CBS. And of course, the adventures of a housewife and spy whom she fell in love. Homemaker Mrs. King is handed a package by a secret agent who's being pursued by bad guys. The secret agent, Lee Stetson, must then track down the homemaker before the bad guys do. Later episodes involve similar plots as Stetson and Mrs. King are teamed up together, starring Kate Jackson, Bruce Boxleitner, co-starring Beverly Garland, Mel Stewart, and Martha Smith. Guys, I got a confession to make here. I had never seen any episodes of this before. I remember seeing like trailers and commercials for it all the time, but I actually sat down and watched the first two episodes. It is showing on Tubi, if I remember correctly. Gotta tell you, it was kind of fun. And I was crushing on like Kate Jackson right away. She is adorable in this show. Lacey, your thoughts
on Kate Jackson?
What's that?
I said, how can you not crush on Kate Jackson? She was an angel. Come on now.
Yeah, and yes, former Angel, of course, Charlie's Angels. But the chemistry was like right off the bat with her and Bruce Boxleitner. Lacey, your thoughts on Scarecrow and Mrs. King?
I don't know if you can see this, but I have all 4 seasons right there.
Woohoo! Nice.
Well, I have to say, I loved this show when it came out. It was like it was awesome, and we would all watch as a family because it was a very good like family presentation. But I recently, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Matter of fact, I did do like a pandemic rewatch. And I remember being utterly disappointed in the first like season and a half because every single undercover thing that Kate Jackson's character had to do was like a florist, a maid, a cook. And it was very specifically like gender specific. It was so bad. It was like, She was always like a secretary or an assistant or a nurse. And it was so like some of the conversations, even some of the dialogue is so
very dated, is what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. Don't
Yeah.
let your children watch it right now.
Kyle, did you watch the show?
It was one of those ones I'd watch the occasional episode, but at that time just wasn't grabbing my interest a whole lot. Now, this is one of those ones you want to revisit if you grew up at that time, because I mean it's Kate Jackson and Bruce Boxleitner.
And it's
maybe when I'm 9, that doesn't register much.
I enjoyed the chemistry that seemed instant between these two. I like the concept of it. It would be kind of nice to see an updated version of this, but not so, dated style. I think that'd be kind of.
That's what the sequel to True Lies would have been.
Good point. There you go.
It would have been, because it was the secret, trying to hide it from the grandmother and the two kids, and the ex-husband.
So in the case of time here, guys, I just want to mention the next two shows, and it's kind of important here, guys, is we've got TV's bloopers and practical jokes, and I love this old picture of him here. This was 8 p.m. I remember watching this all the time with my family, but I got to tell you, we got bored with the practical jokes after a while because they got very formulaic. I wanted bloopers. The practical jokes, I got tired of after a while.
Yep. Same here.
Ed McMahon, Dick Clark, of course, hosted it. And of course, guys, the Fall Guy, one of the most coolest trucks in the business, coolest cast, and really cool songs. Lee Majors, also co-starring Douglas Barr and Heather Thomas and Marky Post. Adventures of a film stuntman who moonlights as a bounty hunter when movie work is slow. Colt Seaver is a combination bounty hunter and stuntman. Now, guys, what's really cool about this is we are getting an update of this very soon. May 3rd, we're getting the movie reboot with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. And I did look at the IMDb on this. Apparently, Lee Majors is on the IMDb list to make an appearance in this. I have no idea. Your thoughts on the TV series, Kyle?
It's a classic. I mean, this was kind of Lee Majors at the downside of $6 million Man, everything like that. But it really kind of gave him a second career for a while. And of course, it introduced us to Heather Thomas and Marky Post. So I'm not going to complain about that. But this had a niche, and it really hit it for a good couple of seasons on this, because it was really like nothing else quite on TV at the time.
Yeah, definitely. Were you a fan of this show, Lacey?
I loved this show. This was like Magnum PI and Dukes of Hazzard rolled into one.
Yeah,
it was kind of like the working man's Magnum PI kind of version of things. It was no Ferrari. They had a truck and a helicopter, and it was.
I like the fact that we got stuntmen mentioned, and that there was parts of that about the show. And a little trivia real quick, in his True Hollywood Story 96, Lee Majors says he started his acting career by hanging out with stuntmen and occasionally working as one. Majors made sure real stuntmen got plenty of work on the show. I thought that was really cool. And as I mentioned, I don't know about you guys, but the trailer for the reboot starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt looks hilarious. And it is directed by David Leitch and also co-starring Hannah Waddingham from Ted
Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Thank you very much.
And I just rewatched Bullet Train recently too. So I'm
also directed by David Leitch. Yes. Yeah. And he has a tie to John Wick, which I love about that. So this looks like a very, very fun film. Lacey, have you seen the trailer for Fall Guy?
I have. It looks like a almost shot-for-shot copy of The Lost City with Channing Tatum, only with a capable person going after them instead of Channing Tatum. I mean,
Gotcha.
The character, obviously, Channing Tatum's a very capable human. I'm not, yeah.
Next is the movie segment, guys. This is the Fandom Podcast Network, and of course, we are talking Time Warp, and this is where we get into the movies of 1984. But we have some movie news, production news, that was important for March. And March 30th, and we're going to get to talking about this film in a second, or a few seconds actually, Romancing the Stone is released. Rappel stars Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas, and Danny DeVito, and director Robert Zemeckis to superstardom. There you are, holding up the Romancing the Stone Blu-ray. Look at that. Nice. Now, what's more important, guys, is this film also gave Zemeckis his first box office hit, which gave Universal Pictures confidence to allow him to direct his next film, Back to the Future. So kind of important. I love that. We also have some celebrity film debuts here. Celebrities that were on the rise, and the few that we have selected is Jennifer Connelly in Once Upon a Time in America, John Cryer in No Small Affair, Isaac de Bancole in Asphalt Warriors, Johnny Depp in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Tate Donovan in No Small Affair as well. Kyle.
Doesn't Jennifer Connelly, I feel like she ties into something we recently did here on the Fandom Podcast Network in some roundabout kind of way.
You want to tell for the listeners that don't know what you're saying, Kyle?
Wimbledon.
We just did our Valentine's Couch Potato Theater with a movie starring her wonderful husband, Paul Bettany, Wimbledon.
It's true. Oh, such a good movie. Let's get into movies, guys. Movies, and more movies. We did want to mention we have a segment called the Cutting Room Floor where there are some movies that we're not going to spend a lot of time in, and then we'll just briefly mention them at the end of this movie segment. But there are some that made the Cutting Room Floor. But let's get into the main part of the show, the movies of March 1984. As I mentioned, guys, this was stacked. And we're going to start with the first film here, which I had never seen before. This came out March 2nd, called Against All Odds. Theatrical run made about $25 million. And I got to read the poster information because they love putting a lot of information on the poster. She was a beautiful fugitive, fleeing from corruption, from power. He was a professional athlete, past his prime, hired to find her. He grew to love her. Love turned to obsession. Obsession turned to murder. And now the price of freedom might be nothing less than their lives. Against All Odds, starring Rachel Ward, Jeff Bridges, and James Woods. A gangster hires an ex-football player to find his girlfriend. When he finds her, they fall in love, and the twists start to appear. Directed by Taylor Hackford. Kyle, give us some trivia, and we'll get into the film.
James Wood and Jeff Bridges both loved working with Richard Widmark, and finally remember the late actor's love of pancakes. He used to have a plate waiting for him while shooting a scene, and Woods and Bridges would often hide it. Widmark refused to go back to shooting before the cakes had been recovered. One of the big things about this movie is the song that was performed by Phil Collins. Phil Collins was contacted by director Taylor Hackford to record a song for the movie. Collins had written Against All Odds, originally entitled How Can You Just Sit There, for his first solo album, Face Value, which released in 1981. And it was one of many songs on the album which were about his first wife who had left him. Collins had left the song off the album because he felt that he had enough ballads on Face Value already, and he hadn't included it on his second solo album, Hello, I Must Be Going, either. After Taylor Hackford's request for a song, he decided to return to it and recorded it in 2 days, one day in New York and the other in Los Angeles, aided by legendary record producer Arif Mardin. On the DVD commentary, actors Jeff Bridges and James Woods comment on how many audience members were returning to see the film several times for the brief but highly effective car chase sequence at the start.
I'm going to say they were showing up for some sexy time. I'm just going to say. I had never seen this film before. I was kind of curious about it. I found it on DVD. Like, check this out. I got my copy right here. Look at that. Yeah. I got to say, I liked seeing Jeff Bridges as a football player that was getting cut. And so he had to try to find other work. And of course, he is getting kind of sucked into the underworld that James Wood is surrounded by. I have to tell you this, guys. Rachel Ward, gorgeous. I have not seen a lot of her. I know she's married to Brian, what's his name? The Australian actor guy. Brian Brown.
Brian
Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Jeff Bridges, though, looking kind of hot himself, I'm just saying, with a little kind of light beard going on. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. But this is interesting topic regarding the films that have a hit song. And my wife and I kind of I think we did a podcast about this once a long time ago, Kyle, where was the movie bigger than the song? Was the song bigger than the movie, or did they both balance each other out? In this case, I think the song was bigger than the movie.
Yeah.
It has endured for a lot longer. Classic song. Lacey, your thoughts on Against All Odds?
Yeah, absolutely. The song outlasted the film. I will say though, the movie itself, I remember, of course I didn't see this when I was 9 or 10 or 11, however old I was. I saw it later on. And I think that the biggest issue that it had was that it was kind of a mystery and kind of a romance and it had several genres. And that's back when you didn't cross genres. There was no such thing as a zombie pirate comedy back then. You know what I mean? So people didn't know what to expect when they went to the movie, or they thought they knew what to expect, and then they didn't get what they wanted because it was cross genre. And so, and this is one of the,
Kyle, your thoughts on Against All Odds? Have you seen it?
I've seen it. It's been a bit, but Rachel Ward is absolutely stunning in this. There's not even a question. And I agree with Lacey. I think that's the biggest problem why this film didn't take off, is it really never settled on one direction to go in. It was trying to do too many.
Jimmy Woods, though, is like, I will watch him do anything. He's he's such a good.
No, there's some great acting performances in this, but again, it's just this movie can't decide what it wants to be. And without a doubt, though, I mean, this is a case where the song definitely just blows away the movie. It's one of my favorite Phil Collins songs, period.
Yeah. Rachel Ward, gorgeous in this, but I gotta tell you, like I said, Anne, I think really this movie belongs to its lead. It's Jeff Bridges. Just he was just looked cool in this. I thought he was great in this. So.
# Kevin's man crush.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, do me a favor. Try to find another film where he looked better than he did in this film. I mean, he looked like he looked cool, handsome. Just gonna throw that out there. And plus the locations in Mexico they filmed at were just absolutely gorgeous. Really, really cool. I do recommend it. It was cool to visit this. Next film, guys, is Repo Man. And I love reading all the stuff they have on the poster. Meet Otto. He's a clean-cut kid in a dirty business. He's a repo man. He steals cars legally. Now he's out to repossess a 64 Chevy Malibu with an amazing reward of $20,000. But Otto is not alone. There are others who want the car and will do anything to get it. The risks are real because hidden in the trunk is something so incredible it could destroy them all. We'll give you a hint. It glows in the dark. Repo Man, it's 4 a.m. Do you know where your car is? That is all on the poster. I have to be honest with you guys. I did not see this at the theater. Saw this on VHS. One of my friends was like, "You have to see Repo Man." It became such a cult classic and a huge rental thing going on. It's like, you got to watch this. And I remember watching this. I was not impressed, guys. I didn't get it. I get why it's cult classic. It's got some things about it that are attractive to the cult classic audience. And I haven't watched it since probably in the 90s, early 90s when I watched it originally. I bought it on DVD because I was kind of curious. I found it cheap. I bought it. It's still not for me, guys. I just don't get it. And I hear there's rumors that they're going to do a sequel to it. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I just don't get it, guys. It's got some moments, but I don't know. Lacey, your thoughts on Repo Man?
I still confuse it every time I think of this movie. I think it's the one with the monster truck with the face on the front.
Maximum Overdrive.
And I haven't seen either one of them. And I'm like, I'm good with that. I'm not trying to be, but no, it just didn't. The plan, it didn't really sound like a film that I would just jump into.
The thing, it had some quirky characters in it, and it was filmed in around LA, which I always dig. I love LA in the 80s. There's some great scenes in there as well. I see why there's an attractiveness to this. I get the cult feel to it. There just wasn't enough to this film. Of course, starring Harry Dean Stanton, Emilio Estevez. Kyle, have you seen Repo Man?
I have not seen Repo Man, but I am I did a little research on this because I was curious. You had posted me. Kevin, where is Richard Wolofsky when we need him? Because this movie was produced by a monkey. Michael Nesmith was the producer on this film.
Michael Nesmith. There you go.
I worked on a film with Harry Dean Stanton's niece and nephew.
You want to say what it is?
Oh, it was called Last Goodbye.
Last Goodbye. Cool.
Sarah Stanton and Chad. I'm gonna butcher his last name.
Kyle, do you have some trivia on this?
I do have some trivia on this. No special effects were used to make the Chevy Malibu glow while parked at the repossession lot. Instead, the car was completely coated with 3M reflective paint and at an approximate price of $600 per bucket.
$600 a bucket. Wow.
Which is more expensive than the car.
Yeah,
I was going to say. When filming began, they only had one 1964 Chevy Malibu. It was stolen a couple of days into filming, forcing the film crew to scramble to find a replacement. Shortly after finding a replacement, the original was recovered by the police undamaged. This was fortunate timing because about a day later, Fox Harris severely damaged one of the Malibus by accidentally plowing it into a gasoline pump. In the car wash scene, one of the gas pumps is clearly severely dented up and damaged. This is the pump Fox plowed into in a previous take.
Can you imagine filming a show that's really important or a movie with the car and the car gets stolen? That is just so funny. Next, we have Sahara. No, not the Matthew McConaughey Sahara. I've got my DVD right here. This is the one with Brooke Shields. The hottest place on earth is about to get hotter. Are they talking about Brooke? I think they are. Brooke Shields in Sahara.
About in this movie.
What's that, Kyle?
I said about the only thing you can talk about with this movie.
Oh yeah. So the passions and the engines run as hot as the desert sands in Sahara. A romantic adventure featuring international superstar Brooke Shields. Shields portrays Dale, an American Harris, who disguises herself as a man to take the place of her late father in the 1927 auto race through the Sahara Desert. Before she can finish the race, she finds herself caught up in a conflict between two powerful men, the villainous Lord Beg, played by Ronald Lacee, a.k.a. Tot in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the dashing Jafar, played by Lambert Wilson in The Matrix Reloaded. Also featuring John Rhys Davies, Lord of the Rings, and, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the evocative musical score by Ennio Morricone. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Sahara is an exotic race to the heart of the adventure.
Kevin, you know what this movie needed?
What's that?
Matthew McConaughey.
Well, Kyle, have you seen Sahara?
I saw Sahara way back in the day in cable, and I tried to watch it a couple times because it was really when Brooke Shields was really starting to kind of come into our own. We tried to watch as much Brooke Shields as we could. I never could make it through this movie. I would always fall asleep.
Lacey, your thoughts on Sahara? Did you fall asleep like Kyle?
No, I didn't. Well, I don't think I've ever seen it, and I tried to find it. And I know you said you have it on DVD, but I gotta tell you, I looked for it on DVD, and the lowest price was like $58, and I was like, nope.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I looked at several. Now there were like Region B and Region 2 versions that were $6, but I'm not gonna buy a DVD that I can only watch on one. I have one 4K player, and I think those will play any region, but yeah, I need to be able to watch it on any of my TVs.
Well, what's interesting is I didn't buy this on eBay or Amazon or anything like that. I actually found it sealed at a thrift store.
Oh, right on.
And I was looking, and I bought this actually, I think, at the thrift store about a year or two ago when we were doing like 83 or 82, because I was looking at it going, wait a minute, this is an 84 film. I should probably hold on to this. So I've held on to this movie for that long. I have not watched it until recently. And Kyle, I can see where you might fall asleep at a couple parts here, but I see why Brooke wanted to do this. She got to race cars, and she also got to, and the filming locations are gorgeous, by the way. She also got to shoot guns, and then she gets thrown into like, a fixed marriage situation. And then like she escapes and she, takes part in this race. I could see why she wanted to do this. Kyle, do you have some trivia for us? Sahara.
I do have a few pieces of trivia. Early in the filming, producer Menahem Golan said to numerous people that he believed Brooke Shields would win an Oscar for her role.
Real quick, I got to go in here. These are the guys Kyle, this is a canon film.
Yeah,
It
I
is
know.
a canon release film.
Which tells you a lot right there. That's
Yep.
British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's son went missing while rallying through the Sahara around this time, which gave the movie some much needed publicity. Yeah, hey, for free publicity, never a bad thing. Early press on this movie was so bad that the movie completely halted it from release. The movie company completely halted it from release in almost every market east of the Mississippi River.
So that includes like Georgia and all you guys.
The movie was described as Menahem Golan's attempt to make Lawrence of Arabia with the Blue Lagoon and the Great Race thrown in.
I get its appeal. It's actually kind of a fun movie. I think Brooke is good in this. I there's certain parts of it that are really kind of fun, and I do like the filming locations. I thought that they were pretty cool, so I do recommend it. I thought it was kind of fun. So, but the next film, this is where we're at, guys. Spinal Tap, aka This Is Spinal Tap, the funniest rock movie ever made. Hilarious, sends up what the Beatles started with A Hard Day's Night. Don't miss it. One of the funniest movies. Spinal Tap, one of England's loudest bands, is chronicled by film director Marty DeBurgi on what proves to be a fateful tour. Rob Reiner plays Marty DeBurgi, directs this. Writers, of course, include stars Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer. And as we know, guys, it is about this British band that's trying to kind of make a comeback in an ill-fated U.S. tour. One of the most famous movies about rock musicians. Every rock musician. This is kind of required viewing, guys, if you're a fan of any type of music. Lacey, your thoughts on Spinal Tap?
Spinal Tap is super fun. I love the getting stuck in the cocoon and then get just the whole the behind the scenes kind of feel of the whole thing. I mean, it's a fake documentary, so you've got a lot of like. Anyway, I do think that one of the little nuggets of trivia is that on Graham Norton, Jamie Lee Curtis told a story about how she and her husband, Christopher Guest, met Elon Musk. And he took them directly to his Tesla and showed them that every Tesla, the volume button on the radio goes to 11.
Are you serious? That is so cool.
Yeah, because of this movie. So apparently, if you own a Tesla or if you see a Tesla, you can ask the person who owns it if it goes to 11, and it does indeed go to 11.
That is fantastic. Yeah. That is awesome. Kyle, your thoughts on Spinal Tap?
One of the most famous, if not the most famous, mockumentary ever made. A must see, like you said, Kevin, if you're any kind of music fan. Rob Reiner is a genius. Let's be honest. The crazy thing about this movie is that even for all of its fame, at times it doesn't feel famous. It's like I have to tell. Sometimes you have to tell people about This Is Spinal Tap. I found that especially in younger generations. It doesn't seem to have carried through time quite as well as you want to think it does from you being in the generation that lived it.
It's interesting you say that because one of the more recent kind of mockumentaries that I find more hilarious on rewatch was Pop Star, Never Stop Stopping, I think.
Never Stopping.
Yeah, which is just hilarious, and it's a great take of it stars the guys Adam Sandberg and the guys from his friends, The Lonely Island. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like what happens if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's what happens if a band like the Beastie Boys broke up and one of the main guys went and became a pop star like Justin Bieber. And then, they kind of slowly start to mend their differences. And it's a very funny thing. But that's all the tradition of Spinal Tap. And I do have a couple of bits of trivia here, guys. First of all, the actors are all competent musicians, and they actually are playing on the soundtrack. And several rock stars have commented on what an uncanny accurate spoof of the rock and heavy metal world of this film was. Ozzy Osbourne says that when he first watched the film, he was the only person who wasn't laughing. He thought it was a real documentary. U2 guitarist The Edge says, "I didn't laugh. I wept. It was so close to the truth." Marillion had 5 drummers in the space of a year between their first 2 albums, which guitarist Steve Rothery later admitted was like Spinal Tap. So what's kind of funny about this, guys, is Spinal Tap. When you watch this, there's certain moments that are painful, but it's painfully true a lot because this is all inspired by stuff that has happened. But good, the guys had gotten together for some specials and had released some of their albums. Even what is it? Harry Shearer did like a Derek Smalls album within like the last 15 years. I know because I got it free somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but they are in development working on a sequel to this. And I think it's going to be released this year for the 40th anniversary.
I hope it's called That Was Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I know, right?
I remember being in the block. I worked at Blockbuster, and I remember how people used to always accidentally reshelve it under S. And
yes,
literally at the end of every night, because people would go looking for it, and we'd have to go to the SP and then take it and put it back under T.
For the record, I gave into it. I have it on my shelf under S.
Really?
Yeah, I got to keep it under S. I can't. Yes. The whole thing about the drummers like dying mysteriously or combust is just great. But there's certain details of this film are just classic, like when they're doing the press stuff and they each have cold sores, Fran Dresser's kind of funny in this, and the whole thing with like the Yoko Ono vibe that goes on with the girlfriend. And it's just, there's so much stuff. It is such a fun one. And I love it. It's like less than an hour and a half. It's like 85 minutes. It's an easy watch. You can watch the special features, which have like deleted scenes. And it is a classic movie. Next, we have a horror film called Children of the Corn, made over $14 million in the theater, guys. And this is from the author of Carrie, The Shining, Dead Zone, and Christine, An Adult Nightmare, Stephen King's Children of the Corn, and the Children Shall Lead Them. A young couple is trapped in a remote town where the dangerous religious cult of children believes that everyone over the age of 18 must be killed. Kind of reminds me of a certain sci-fi film where people don't live over the age of 30. Director Fitz Kearts, writers, of course, Stephen King, stars Peter Horton, Linda Hamilton, R.G. Armstrong, and Courtney Gaines. I still have not seen this, guys. I did ask my wife, Erin, who is a huge horror fan. I asked, hey, honey, what did you think of Children of the Corn? She's like, started out great, ending is shit. That's what she said. Kyle, have you seen Children of the Corn?
I have. I agree with your wife, but this is one of those movies that really benefited from home video, and a lot of teenagers who weren't able to get into the rated R Children of the Corn to go see it. And I think it got kind of hyped up a little bit more than what it should have really been. But then again, of course, this is the 80s. So this is a horror movie that made a little bit of money. So we must make 15 sequels of Children of the Corn.
Yes. Yeah. The thing that stands out about is the actor Courtney Gaines, which I remember him more from Can't Buy Me Love. He was the nerdy friend. And he was the one that had his house shit on, when the practical jokes were happening. Lacey, yeah, I know you're not a horror person. I'm assuming you haven't seen this.
Yeah, this is in my book. This is called Nope, and also Nope.
Gotcha. Kyle, did you have any trivia on Children of the Corn?
On the dashboard of Bert and Vicky's car is a copy of Night Shift, the Stephen King short story collection in which Children of the Corn originally appeared. Though real corn was used for most of the filming, polyurethane corn had to be used for the most difficult action sequences. Courtney Gaines, who won the role of Malachi by using a prop knife to hold a casting assistant hostage at the audition, he claims that was one of the greatest honors of his career, having hundreds of people, even his son's friends, recognize him as Malachi and confess they found him terrifying. Some having admitted his performance gave them nightmares. Apparently, even his own parents were greatly unnerved by him in this film. That's some power over the parents right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, there is a part of me that wants to see it just for Courtney Gaines, because he's been like one of those guys. I believe he has red hair and stuff. And you've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Well, he was great in Memphis Belle.
Yes, exactly. Great call out there.
I gotta tell you, just watching the trailer of this, I don't know that I could be in a room with Courtney again. Like I think that would freak me out. Like
Yeah.
he's so, like just in the trailer, and this is back when you got a 2.5-minute trailer and you still knew nothing about the movie.
Yeah.
Right. But just like the look on, and there's that one shot where it kind of goes that low pan up to his face, and he's wearing the nope. Mm-mm. I mean, I still remember it so vividly, and I've never seen the movie. Nope.
The next film is called The Hotel New Hampshire, starring Jodie Foster, Beau Bridges, Rob Lowe, and Natasha Kinski. And from the novel by John Irving, author of Cider House Rules. A family weathers all sorts of disasters and keeps going in spite of everything. And the film noted for its wonderful assortment of oddball characters, directed by Tony Richardson. Of course, also co-starring Seth Green, which is his first feature debut. Wallace Shawn, Matthew Modine, and Wilford Brimley, along with Rob Lowe, Jodie Foster, and Paul McCrane. Kyle, give us some trivia first, because I just watched this for the first time and I got thoughts.
Jodie Foster later said that with this movie began the lowest point of her career as she turned down worthy roles in Splash, The Terminator, and The Breakfast Club. Her career wouldn't recover until Kim Basinger turned down the role of Sarah Tobias in The Accused, and finally the part once assigned to Basinger was won by Foster, for which she won her first Academy Award. The exteriors of the Hotel New Hampshire was portrayed by an actual Canadian hotel, the Hotel Tadoussac. In Quebec. Early in pre-production, the rock band Queen was asked to come record some songs for the movie. They completed at least one song for the soundtrack, Keep Passing the Windows Open, but the collaboration fell through. The finished film saw no Queen contribution, but the same year, their album, The Works, which came out in 1984, did feature the song. The debut theatrical film, of course, of actor Seth Green.
And by the way, Seth Green was also in Can't Buy Me Love, played the great annoying little brother.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey, before I give my thoughts, did you see this movie?
I've seen this movie. I saw it a long time ago, though. I remember it having like weird. Am I wrong in thinking that there were like weird, like potential incest kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I'll get into that in a second. I
think that's why I kind of like blocked it out.
Yeah.
It's just this weird kind of like self-sustaining family unit where they're just so terrified of like all the things that have happened to them that they just kind of it's just weird.
Kyle, did you see this film?
Is that the poster with the teddy bear on the front just makes it creepier.
Yeah.
I'll get into that too. Kyle, have you seen this film?
I think I've seen parts of this film. The thing I remember with what I've seen of this film, there's a Jodie Foster thing where there are movies where she looks very off-putting, and there's movies where she looks really good. This is one of those movies she actually looked really good, and you add in Natasha Kinski, and it's a very good-looking cast because you throw in Rob Lowe into the mix. But yeah, this was what I remember of this film was bizarre.
That's the tip of the iceberg, brother. Oh my God. So I found it streaming free on Freebie and watched it, and it had like commercials, of course, but I decided to turn it on last night and see if I could squeeze it in before this, because I didn't want to jump out and watch this. It just looked weird, but I'm like, okay, I found it free. I'm going to watch it. And yes, you're right. Jodie Foster looks good in this. And it is about this weird family that lives in this hotel, and I can't really begin to explain exactly why this movie is what it is. There's a bear in the beginning that's trained by Wallace Shawn's character, and then there's scenes where he's riding a bicycle, and then you can tell later on there's a person in the bear in a bear suit in the more like harder scene, and then like the bear gets killed later. Then there's a dog who farts all the time, and they put the dog down, and they decide to stuff the dog. And then there's like scenes with like Rob Lowe and Jodie Foster, who play brother and sister, and there's this weird kind of like sexual energy between them. And you're wondering like where it's going to go. And then Matthew Modine he's like the jock that like he and his buddies pick on Rob Lowe. And there's a horrible scene where they gang rape Jodie Foster. And then like
she playing like a 14-year-old or something, like she's young, right?
I don't know how old she is, but she's like a cheerleader as well. And then and then there's like Natasha Kinski, who's wears this bear suit during scenes, and then they get back at Matthew Modine with the bear suit, and like it is effing weird, guys. It is one of the most weirdest films I've ever seen. And then, spoiler alert, Rob Lowe and Jodie Foster sleep together. And then like they go on and like Rob Lowe has like this thing going on with this hooker. I just don't get this film. I was looking at the reviews. People said it's a masterpiece. Other people said that it sucked. I will never watch this movie ever again. It is weird, weird, weird. And you don't get the Natasha Kinski that you hope that you get in a Natasha Kinski film. I just don't get this film. I just don't get it. It's on Freebie if you want to go ahead and torture yourself. I'm going to leave it at that. Any final comments on the Hotel New Hampshire?
You're right. Like it's just like this weird, like super sad, really depressing, odd sexual. Are we gonna call it chemistry? Are we calling it tension? Are we calling it like gross? I can't. And then
all the above. And then all the above.
And then there's like violence, and then the bear costume thing didn't make any sense at all. Like I don't.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. It's just Anyway, I don't want to go on any more about it. Let's move along. Next film, a lot better. Splash, guys. Made over $62 million in its first theatrical run. 2 days ago, this girl showed up naked at the Statue of Liberty. For Alan Bauer, it was love at first sight. Now, everyone is chasing her, trying to prove she's a mermaid. From the first laugh, you'll be hooked. See what they did there? Splash. A young man is reunited with a mermaid he briefly encountered as a boy and falls in love with her without knowing her secret. Directed by Ron Howard, directed by writers Brian Grazer, Bruce J. Friedman, and Lowell Gantz. Stars, of course, Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah, Eugene Levy, and John Candy. I'm holding up the 20th anniversary DVD that came out here. It has some special features as well. Such a fun movie, guys. It really holds up as well. Wonderful performances. John Candy is freaking awesome in this movie. Before we talk more, though, Kyle, please give us some trivia about Splash.
The fountain from the movie is now on display at Disney's MGM Studios at Walt Disney World, while the mermaid fin Daryl Hannah wore is behind the bar at Planet Hollywood in downtown Disney. Of course, now it's called Disney Springs.
Yes.
Get you updated. Credited with introducing the girl's name Madison, which has since become one of the most popular names for newborn girls in the early 21st century.
I think I've known about 8 Madisons in my lifetime, guys.
I have a niece and a dog that were named Madison. The niece is still named Madison. The dog is no longer with us.
Ariel in The Little Mermaid was originally blonde, but was made a redhead to look different from Madison. That was the right choice. I will always stand by that. According to Ron Howard on the YouTube series Reunited Apart, John Candy had arrived late to the set one day and held up the shoot, which was unlike the actor, as he was a professional. When he arrived, he apologized to Howard profusely, to which Howard said it was fine and they would start shooting. Candy said to Howard that he actually hadn't slept and was actually drunk, given the actor had gone to a bar where he met Jack Nicholson, who recognized Candy and supplied him with drinks all night. Candy had said, "But I've got to go shoot," and Nicholson had simply said, "You're going to be all right, kid. Don't worry about it." Candy subsequently shot high. So, what are you supposed to do when Jack Nicholson is buying you drinks all night? You have no choice.
I think if you just tell that to Ron Howard, he'd go, "All right."
Damn you, Nicholson.
Kyle, your thoughts on Splash?
Well, Tom Hanks went from cross-dressing to hanging out with mermaids. I mean, it's a good career move. It's an all-time classic. It's the comedy era of Tom Hanks when he was becoming kind of everybody's favorite American guy. We've talked about this a little bit. This is when there was kind of this height of this Tom Hanks, Michael Keaton kind of thing going on.
Would you say that this was the movie that really pushed Tom Hanks into stardom?
Oh, but there's not even a question about that. I think this is the movie that put Tom Hanks on the map. And I mean, some people, if you followed cult films, you probably knew of him with comedy and stuff like that. But as far as just any national level, without a doubt, this movie put him on the map, because you had all the women wanting to go see it for the love story, and all the guys wanted to go see it for Daryl Hannah. And then they all said, "Hey, we like this Tom Hanks guy."
Lacey, your thoughts on Splash?
I love Splash. I think the stories about John Candy and his apparently he did learn like the actual Swedish that he says in the film is actually real, and he found like a porn star to confirm that that's what the real words were. Just he's just great. And then Eugene Levy with like the broken arm and like just he himself within the course of the movie is just like his own comedy of errors.
It's funny too because he plays the villain, but then he makes that turn, when he realizes like there's people meaner than him. And after he proved that to everyone in front of everyone that she was a mermaid, then he starts, making the turn to help. Yeah. And I always like that.
The secretary with the bra over her clothes because she got struck by lightning, like just like the tiny details that Ron Howard likes to put in kind of like just background sort of bits and bobs that he likes to make everything funny. Like he's very, very attentive to the details.
Such a fun family film as well. And and I just love New York in the 80s. It was nice to see the towers as well. And it's just a fun movie, guys. Next, March 16th. Ice Pirates come out in theaters, made over $13 million in its theatrical run. In the distant future, scarce of water, space pirates get caught after stealing ice from a spaceship. They are sold to a princess looking for her dad. He might have found a planet abundant with water, directed by Stuart Raphael. Stars Robert Ulrich, Mary Crosby, Michael D. Roberts, Angelica Houston, John the Twos Matuzak, and Ron Perlman. I never saw this in the theater originally, guys. I'll be honest with you. I had to wait to see it till later. I don't know if I just missed it or whatever. I ended up getting on VHS, but of course now I have my classic my DVD right here, Ice Pirates. Kyle, give us some trivia before we get into our. Oh, you look at Lacey's got the Blu-ray. Nice. Look at that.
Okay. Before I get into trivia, I just want to state something. Anybody who ever tells you they saw this in the theater, they are lying to you. Nobody saw this movie in the theater. Everybody saw this movie on VHS.
This movie made $11.
I mean, it said the trivia or it says that it made $13 million somewhere, but like, I don't know. This thing did not have a big theatrical run.
Yeah. So there's a couple of interesting pieces of trivia on this. This film was intended to actually be a very serious science fiction film. It had over a $20 million budget, but MGM slashed the budget to $8 million and had the script rewritten as a comedy.
Can I just say something real quick, guys? I'm glad we didn't get that $20 million version because I don't think it would have endured. I think that if it was going to be a serious science fiction film, I don't think it would have been as good, to be honest with you.
Well,
Gene Roddenberry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lacey.
I was going to say, if you take out the ice portion of it, it's basically Battlestar Galactica. They're looking for the one. I mean, I'm not trying to, it is. It's the plot line for about like looking for Terra. Anyway, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Gene Roddenberry, not Starbuck, the original creator of Star Trek, once jokingly said that the Ice Pirates was singularly responsible for bringing back the death penalty to California.
You might have a point there, yes.
They pilfered from a lot of things too, because after the pirates are captured, the spaceship approaches a domed city for landing. The same domed city sets were used in Logan's Run in 1976 as the slave cages are being unloaded on Mithra. The car and hovercraft from Logan's Run 1977 are visible in the background, both resurfaced later as the Pimp and Zorn's vehicles. Plus, in the control room where the alarm is triggered, the television screens are showing the 1975 version of Rollerball. I'm amazed those Logan Run sets were still around. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, and I alluded to a film where people were killed after they turned 30 earlier. But yes, that is Logan's Run. Guys, this movie is just so much fun. And of course, whenever you are thinking Ice Pirates, what is the first thing people say, Kyle?
Space herpes.
Space herpes.
Space herpes. I'm just going to throw this out there. If there was a plush version of that space herpes, I would buy it.
Yep.
The other thing I think I think is most memorable from this movie is the robots.
Yes, definitely the robots. And then Bruce Valanche's head being put on one of the robots. This was my first. I know Bruce Valanche did a lot of TV and writing and stuff like that, but this is how I remember Bruce Valanche. And of course, being a Raiders fan, Mr. Tuzak himself being in here, and of course, a lot of people most know him as Sloth from Goonies. But just a wonderful cast, a lot of fun. I love how cheesy it is, how cheesy the sets are. Thank God it had an $8 million budget and not $20 million. Lacey, your thoughts on Ice Pirates?
So many thoughts. It was so nice to see Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman?
Yeah, this like kind of he really, these days he plays a lot of like tough kind of, rawr, from Sons of Anarchy and Bunraku and these other films that he's in. He plays a lot of like, very grumpy kind of older rawr, whatever. And he's just this kind of like quirky, goofy, funny, and you don't see that a lot. And he's good at it. He's really funny.
Yeah.
And I just love that about it. And I mean, everyone else is fantastic as well. The time travel, I guess it's not time travel. It's like the sped up time sequence.
Mhm.
I think they use the term time warp in it, if I remember correctly. They use time warp in Ice Pirates, and here we are talking about it on time warp.
that whole segment is absolutely hilarious. It's
I love the robots as well. Kyle, any final thoughts on Ice Pirates?
A couple. One, they must have cast Robert Urich and Angelica Houston before they slashed the budget, because there's no way otherwise.
Yes.
I got to shout out Michael D. Roberts, who is great in this. He's one of those great that guy actors from the 80s.
Yes.
He's great in this. He's one of my highlights. And I mean, this movie is probably easily, it should be in any of the probably top 3 all-time classic 80s cult classic films. I mean, this film really is the definition of an 80s cult classic film.
I've been threatening to do an Ice Pirates Couch Potato Theater here on the network, because and I've it's one of those that I do want to look back and celebrate more in depth. So it's on that. I'm threatening to do it. I'm just going to say right now. Next, we have Tank. And I love reading from the posters, guys. Sergeant Major Zach Carey believed in truth, justice, and the American way until a small town sheriff set him up and threw him and his only son in jail for a crime he didn't commit. Now, Sergeant Major Zach Carey is going to try something a little different. Starring James Garner, co-starring J.D. Spradlin, Shirley Jones, and C. Thomas Howell, and James Cromwell. And of course, as we mentioned, Sergeant Major Zach arrives at a new army base with his son and a Sherman tank that he owns. One night at the bar, he stops a pimp/deputy from beating a girl. The corrupt sheriff uses Zach's son for revenge, and Zach uses his tank. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I've heard about this film, never seen the film before. I know it had a lot of run apparently on like HBOs and stuff like that. So I bought it on DVD, thoroughly enjoyed it, guys. Oh my God, this movie was fun, and I love James Garner, and this was a great movie for him. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed the father-son scenes with this, with C. Thomas Howell. Shirley Jones, by the way, hot. Just gonna throw it out there. I love Shirley Jones. I think she's great. And the girl that's the love interest for I'm forgetting her name right now, but for C. Thomas Howell, and she's Janelle. Janelle, she was in she took over for Chrissy Snow in Three's Company when Suzanne Summers was going to get fired because she was demanding a lot of money.
Janelle Harrison.
Thank you, Janelle Harrison. Absolutely adorable in this film, and she gets to shoot the gun on the tank, which is great. And I love it when you go up against corrupt, racist, small town sheriffs. And this is a perfect example of getting revenge on someone like that. A lot of fun. Lacey, your thoughts on Tank?
I saw Tank a million years ago. I have not rewatched it. In my head, it was like more drama than comedy. But James Garner has this charisma and charm that is very rare. Like every character he plays, he just has that natural charm. I mean, from I mean, it just everything he does. So
He does. Yeah.
I think this is on my list of rewatch. I thought I was going to be able to talk it through. I honestly remember it as being like a survivalist thing, so I think I might be mixing it up with something else.
It is not. It is not. And there is plenty of comedy, but there is some drama moments as well. Especially when he stops like there's a scene where he stops. He doesn't stop a guy, but he threatens a guy if he abuses his son again. And so he's got that. I'm not. What's also cool too is when he comes into this army base, he doesn't like strong arm himself in it. He becomes a favorite of everyone. Especially with the guy that runs the what do you call it? Where the cafeteria and stuff like that. And he really and then what's that?
The mess hall.
Yes, the mess hall. There's a great scene where he loves what they're doing there, and he really gets the support of the people there, his superiors, and of course the people in the town, which is really cool. Kyle, your thoughts on Tank?
It is an absolutely fun movie. James Garner is great in it. One of the greatest uses of a motorcycle gang when they tried to get the tank across the border. I love this movie. Lacey hit it on the head. Garner's just got so much charisma, and he just nails that in this. Kevin, I was thinking about this the other day when I was kind of going over and thinking about tanking. I keep thinking of Tank, and I keep thinking it should be a VHS double feature with Firebirds.
I
was thinking Tank and Tank Girl, but okay.
I like that, actually. And what's funny, when I put a post on social media about this on Facebook, someone had made a comment about that. I like Tank, but I prefer Tank Girl. But yeah, no, that is a great double feature, Lacey. I love that. Kyle, you got any trivia for us?
Yeah, I got a couple interesting pieces here. It was filmed at Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia.
Can I say something about that real quick, by the way?
Yeah.
When I didn't know that when I first started watching this, I lived in Georgia for 12 years, guys. And Lacey, you live there, obviously. Mm-hmm. There's a certain topography that Georgia has that I recognize and will never, ever forget. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at it going, this is filmed in Georgia. I look it up. Yep, filmed in Georgia.
Nice.
We also have here, so one more trivia here, Kyle, I think.
Yeah, a couple more. The type of Army tank that the U.S. Army Command Sergeant Major Zach Carey, James Garner's character, owned was a World War II era Sherman tank, a.k.a. an M4 Sherman tank. Previously known as the M4 medium tank, the tank is a medium tank and was named after Union General William Tecumseh Sherman. Around 50,000 of them were manufactured, most of them around World War II. The tank was designed in 1940 and first produced in 1941. And a little interesting side note, actors James Garner and James Cromwell would later co-star in Clint Eastwood's Space Cowboys, which came out in 2000, around 16 years after this film. In that film, Cromwell was Gardner's superior.
I just want to mention real quick, I know about this Sherman tank, and I believe one is a character in the movie Fury, a drama in World War II action that Brad Pitt stars in. And the thing with the Sherman tanks is they were faster and lighter, but they were no match for going up like head on against the German Panzer tanks, because those things were beasts and they had a lot more armor. But because these Shermans were faster and lighter, they could out pivot. And if you really knew what you were doing, and there's a great couple of scenes in the movie Fury that kind of showcase that. But this movie is a character on itself, with the tank is a character on itself, and there's some great moments with it. I absolutely enjoyed it. Highly recommend it.
Right on.
Next, Police Academy, guys, made over $81 million, released March 23rd. And of course, the poster says, the new police recruits, call them slobs, call them jerks, call them gross. Just don't call them when you're in trouble. Police Academy, what an institution. A group of good-hearted but incompetent misfits enter the police academy, but the instructors there are not going to put up with their pranks. Directed by Hugh Wilson, stars Steve Guttenberg, G.W. Bailey, Kim Cattrall, Bubba Smith, George Gaines, Michael Winslow, Leslie Easterbrook, and David Gaff. Kyle, give us some trivia first, and we'll get into our thoughts on Police Academy.
When attending his audition, Steve Guttenberg wore an old police shirt belonging to his father, Stanley Guttenberg, who was a New York City police officer. Director Hugh Wilson stated that when it came time to film the driving scene with Hightower at 2:30 a.m., the actor originally cast as the angry driver was found passed out drunk in the trailer, so Hugh himself ended up playing the role of the angry driver who Hightower crashes into. Producer Paul Maslansky got the idea for the movie during the production of The Right Stuff. A group of police cadets arrived to help with crowd control for the filming of the street scene. When the cadets piled out of the buses to take their posts, they were diverse men, women, tall, short, black, Asian. However, the cadets proved fumbling inept at their assigned task of keeping members of the public away from the set. Maslansky witnessed an exasperated superior officer with a very red face chewing out two sputtering recruits, a lady weighing over 200 pounds, and a flabby man of well over 50.
Lacey, hold up your copy there because I was holding up my DVD. What do you got there?
Yeah, the same. It's the DVD. I think my lights are just a little bit. I think my lights have the yellow.
Yeah, classic. Yeah. And then I ended up getting at Walmart. I got the Police Academy 7-film collection. And I remember liking the sequel, the second one, and the third one was okay. And then the fourth one, that's where it kind of gets a little weird, you know.
I thought they only made 5. So you got 2 more than I thought.
Yeah, there's 7 of these. Guys, I remember this specifically because I remember an older friend of mine's brother got us into it, like paid for the tickets. And this was like one of a few early R-rated films I saw underage was Police Academy. But man, this movie is such a classic. It is so funny, a perfect R-rated comedy. I love the scenes with the hooker underneath the you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But this had so many great characters. Lacey, I think your character's favorite was who?
Tackleberry.
Tackleberry, yes.
Tackleberry's great. Yep. And the girl who played his love interest in the second and third film, that's the heir to the Goldwyn fortune, like Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
Wow. Yeah.
Like cousin of Tony Goldwyn.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Michael Winslow, the master of sounds and music from his mouth. That guy was great. I love, of course, Bubba Smith as Hightower. Just some very, very funny scenes. One of the classic comedies of our time. But there's something that's kind of sweet about it, even though it's R-rated. It's got some, nudity and some sexual stuff. But there's just something kind of sweet about it. I can't quite really nail it down. Kyle, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. You know what it is? It's the Steve Guttenberg factor.
Yeah.
Steve Guttenberg always just kind of adds this, like, there's something about him that he just has that nice guy sweetness to him. Yep. And you don't, even when movies where he's trying to play a little bit harder edge, he's still got it. But the Police Academy is a fantastic comedy film. But the best thing about Police Academy is the fact that a lot of these characters became timeless in the 1980s, you know?
Yeah.
Bubba Smith, and it's not even Gutenberg really. I mean, Mahoney, yes, but Bubba Smith, Tackleberry, Commandant Lassard. I'm blanking on what the Proctor, the little sidekick to the main, whoever was the sergeant at the time. Obviously Winslow. I mean, this was just an amazing cast, and you added Bobcat Goldthwait from the second one forward. And they made 7 of these, which is amazing. Of course, you didn't have Gutenberg after, I think, the 4th one.
Yeah, and they started getting PG, which I get why they did it, and I think they did really well with video, and kids started kind of gravitating towards some of the sequels and such. Lacey, your thoughts on Police Academy?
Love Police Academy. I think, was this before or after Moving Violations?
I think this was after Moving Violations.
Okay, because I feel like there's a connection there. Like one of them spawned the other one, or somebody, like the director of one saw the.
Very similar. It's very similar.
Yeah.
Kyle.
I would just want to throw out too that you end up having a Police Academy reunion in the movie Mannequin with G.W. Bailey and Kim Cattrall.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite character too, like my favorite female character, is the timid woman at the when she finally gets to say "free" with that deep voice. It's just
she talk like this.
Mm-hmm.
Marion Ramsey as Laverne Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Hooks. Yeah. What was that, Hooks?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was it drop a dirtbag?
Mhm.
All right, in the sake of time, guys, we got to move things along here. Next, we have Purple Hearts. I've not seen this film. Barely made under $1 million. A drama, and it stars Ken Wall, Cheryl Ladd, Stephen Lee, and R. Lee Ermey. Dr. Don Jordan, age 29, surgeon, drafted Vietnam. Nothing could have prepared him for the danger, the fear, the violence, or the woman. In the middle of the Vietnam War, a Navy surgeon and a nurse fall in love. Their affection for one another provides a striking contrast to the violence of warfare. I just want to mention this was kind of like trying to make Ken Wall a thing, guys. Didn't quite take off movie style. Of course, he did eventually do was a Wise Guy TV series. They were trying to make him a star, guys. It just wasn't happening.
Ken Wall was one of those 80s actors. Yeah. They tried everything they could to make him a bigger star. And
yeah,
petered
Lacey, did you
out.
see that? Have you seen this? Because I have
I
not.
don't think so. I think that obviously I was far too young to see that just by the cover. Like I was too young to see that when I was 11. And if it only made $1 million, I doubt that it was ever on a channel late at night, later on.
Yeah.
So I don't think I haven't even heard of
Okay.
this.
The next film, also under the radar for me, guys, called Racing with the Moon, made a little bit more, a little over $5 million in its original theatrical run. It was 1943, and young men were counting the days before they went off to war. Racing the Moon, 1942, California. Two young men await induction into U.S. Marines and say goodbye to their friends. Stars Sean Penn, Elizabeth McGovern, Nicolas Cage, and Crispin Glover. Guys, I just found this streaming for free. I want to say it was Paramount Plus. I didn't get a chance to watch it, though. And I was kind of curious about it. I might watch it later. Has anyone seen this, Lacey?
I have seen it. I think I had it on VHS back in the day, but I can't say that I've seen it recently. It was very young Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
It was very, so I don't know that it didn't, let's just put it this way, it didn't leave a lasting impression.
Sean Penn's getting some work here because we just talked about him last month in Crackers. Kyle, have you seen this movie? Heard of it?
Under my radar, like you. I'd never even heard of it till you put it in the notes here.
All right. Well, next film I know we've heard of, guys, because we have a certain franchise, if it wasn't for this movie. March 30th, Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, made over $45 million. This is, some people say a more proper version of Tarzan. And of course, starring Christophe Lambert, Andy McDowell, Ian Holm. And the poster says here in 1886, following the shipwreck off the west coast of Africa, an infant child became part of a family of apes who raised and protected him. As he grew, he learned the laws of the jungle and eventually claimed the title Lord of the Apes. Yet years later, when he returned to civilization, he would remain uncertain as to which laws he should obey, those of man or those of jungle. Now, the director of Chariots of Fire captures this epic adventure of a man caught between two different worlds. And this was the movie that got on the radar of the producers of Highlander. And this is how Christophe Lambert became the Highlander himself. Connor McLeod. Of course, at the time, they didn't realize you couldn't speak a word of English. I've only seen portions of this, guys. I finally watched it all the way through. I have the DVD right here. I'm just going to go ahead and say this, guys. If you're an animal lover, this is a tough watch. And I don't think I can watch this movie again for that reason. I will say this. Rick Baker did a wonderful job of turning these people dressed as apes. The ape outfits looked fantastic. But basically, you're taking a guy out of his world and stuff doesn't go well. And the ape that he called his father gets killed. It is tough to watch if you are an animal lover. And of course, Andy McDowell, more famously, she's got one accent apparently, and she had to be dubbed by Glenn Close in this film. Ian Holm was great in this. But like I said, I don't know if I could watch this again. Lacey, your thoughts on Greystoke? Have you seen it?
I have. I saw it back then, probably, not in the movie theater, probably, but, a few years later, maybe on cable. And I think I saw it a few times here and there. It was one of those ones where if it was on, I always, would stop it to see a little bit of this and that. I think that the overdubbing was a little bit off, and that always bothers me if I can tell, when the dialogue's off or whatnot. But I love Tarzan, like the concept of Tarzan. I've, all the old, Johnny Weissmuller movies and the Disney one and the new one with
Skarsgård.
Yep. So, this is one that would be in the collection.
Kyle, have you seen this movie, Greystoke?
I have seen this movie, and I'm like you. There's a lot of I'm not going to say it's a horrible movie, but there's a lot of factors in this movie that don't give it rewatchability.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's hurt this film over the years. The other thing is I just personally feel like, I don't know, outside of maybe the Tarzan animated that Disney's done, that Hollywood has fully unlocked the puzzle that is Tarzan to the big screen. There's been some decent attempts. But I don't think there's ever been that one really standout Tarzan movie.
It's one of these. I haven't seen the new Tarzan. Lacey, did you say you did see it?
The Legend of Tarzan. Sam Jackson's in that as well. It's actually not bad.
Real quick question. How do they treat the apes and the animals in that movie?
It's
a little more animal friendly compared to Greystoke.
Yeah.
See, that's where you got to tread lightly nowadays.
Yeah.
If you are hurting animals, you're not in the world where you can get away with that and have success with it. I'm sorry, you just can't. You can't kill the dog. We learned from Turner and Hooch on that one. And I was asking my wife about this because we're big Highlander fans. It's how we met. And she's like, yeah, I can't watch that movie anymore, but I do gotta say though, Christophe Lambert was good in this movie. And I see why he was chosen to become the immortal himself, Connor McLeod. So any final thoughts on Greystoke, guys?
It's the grayest of the Tarzan movies. Like, it's the entire thing. It's just so dark and gray. It's the whole movie feels stormy.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's got a certain look to it. Definitely. Yeah. The next and last film of March 30th, Romancing the Stone, made over $115 million in its theatrical run, starring Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito. And as I always said, I love reading from the poster. She's a girl from the big city. He's a reckless soldier of fortune. For a fabulous treasure, they share an adventure no one could imagine or survive. A mousy romance novelist sets off for Colombia to ransom her kidnapped sister. She soon finds herself in the middle of a dangerous adventure hunting for treasure with a mercenary rogue. Directed by Robert Zemeckis. Writers Diane Thomas, Lem Dobbs, and Howard Franklin. As I mentioned, stars Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito. And do you have your DVD there, Lacey? Do you have it handy? Because
I got the Blu-ray.
I got the double feature here with Jewel of the Nile. Does your Blu-ray have any special features? Because mine only has original theatrical trailer.
The special features are deleted scenes, rekindling the romance, looking back at the featurette, or a look back featurette, a hidden treasure screenwriting featurette, Michael Douglas remembers featurette, Douglas Turner and DeVito favorite scenes featurette. But each one of these featurettes are legit like 5 minutes long, like between 2 to 7 minutes long. But there's some fun little blurbs in there. So
okay. Yeah, I stuck with the double feature DVD I have here. I just think that's cool. Kyle, your thoughts on Romancing the Stone? Let's start with you, sir.
One of the times where, thank God, there are times when they don't listen to the Hollywood executives. This movie was rumored to be one. They all thought this was going to be one of the biggest bombs in Hollywood history, and it proved everybody wrong. This movie is fun. It's got a little bit of that Indiana Jones spirit, but it's Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, and the chemistry they have and how they play off each other is so phenomenal. And then you throw in some of the best Danny DeVito ever in this film, and it just works. But it probably really shouldn't have worked, but it works, and it's great. And it's fun, and I'm a fan of Jewel of the Nile as well. I think that's good. I just think it all comes down to the fact that the chemistry is so strong between Douglas and Turner, and they're both such phenomenal actors that you could have put them in a shoebox and they would have pulled this off.
I love it how we come across like the drug lord guy, and he's a fan, and he helps him escape.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I think about this. You mentioned Channing Tatum earlier, Lacey.
Mhm.
He was basically in a movie not too long ago with Sandra Bullock. That was kind of a
Yeah, that's the movie I was
take
talking about.
yeah.
That's the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the name of the movie again?
Lost City of D. Well, it was called. That was the work. It's just called The Lost City.
Yeah, Lost City. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Harry Potter played the villain, right? Is that I remember that right?
Yeah. Yes.
yes. Daniel Radcliffe played the villain.
Yes.
Harry
Yes.
Potter.
Lacey, your thoughts on Romancing the Stone?
The quick-witted dialogue in this is really part of my favorite. Like, I just loved. There's one scene where they get to the drug dealer's house and he's standing there and he's like, everything, state of the art, state of the art, state of the art. And Jack Colton says, "How about a photocopier?" He's like, "Yes, but he's broken." Okay, so over here and you just that little bit where you're like, what? It's some of the funniest written dialogue, and I don't know that there are many people who could carry off just that kind of banter. It's not. It's kind of it's reminiscent of like some of those 40s, fast talking, detective movies and stuff like that.
What I like too is that the romance novel was such a thing, and it still is.
Yeah.
And when this comes to life, I think is great. And as you mentioned, Kyle, the trivia here, it says that they thought studio executives were sure this film would flop, that Robert Zemeckis was preemptively fired from directing Cocoon. Turned out to be such a huge success. Of course, he wanted to do Back to the Future. And what I also thought was interesting too in the trivia is that this was the only produced screenplay for writer Diane Thomas. She had been working as a waitress in Malibu when producer star Michael Douglas optioned her script for $250,000, allowing her to quit her job. But sadly, Thomas died in a car accident while working on a new movie project with Steven Spielberg the following year, about 7 weeks before the opening of the film sequel, The Jewel of the Nile. She was a passenger with her boyfriend while driving a Porsche that Douglas had bought for her as a thank you gift. And the Jewel of the Nile, 1985, was dedicated in the memory of Thomas. And I forgot about the woman, Mary Ellen Trainor, who plays Elaine, the kidnapped sister that she has to go rescue. She was also one of the writers, but more people might know her from the Lethal Weapon films as the counselor that kept trying to get Riggs to get into her sessions. Kyle, your thoughts?
There's one other piece of trivia here that I find really fun too, is that though described by some critics as a ripoff of 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, the original screenplay for this movie had actually been written 5 years earlier, around 1979.
So neener.
And I do remember Mary Ellen Trainor. Her role as that counselor was one of the funner parts of Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. And this film,
sorry,
Lacey, what was that?
They just announced Lethal Weapon 5.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Yeah. The film marked the beginning of director Robert Zemeckis' partnership with composer Alan Silvestri. Ever since then, Silvestri has composed the music for every Zemeckis directed film. It was so much fun to return to this, guys. I love it. I love the shooting locations. I would be up to seeing these two coming back together somehow. I love it. I thought it was great.
Oh man, the Doobie Brothers split up.
Well,
you've been down here. Just delightful.
Well, guys, this has been the movies that are part of the main segment here. And of course, as always, we do have the cutting room floor. And I'm just going to go through a quick list of some of the films that we did cut here. We have Harry and Son, starring Paul Newman, Ellen Barkin, Morgan Freeman, and Wilford Brimley again. We also have a film called Over the Brooklyn Bridge, starring Elliot Gould, Margot Hemingway, Sid Caesar, Carol Kane. We also have a movie called Mike's Murder, starring Deborah Winger and Paul Winfield. And then the last one, I think, or two more. We have an action film called Kill Point, starring Richard Roundtree and Leo Fong. And do we have one more? I think yes, we have this one. I couldn't find this movie anywhere. Misunderstood. This one stars Gene Hackman and Henry Thomas and Rip Torn. I just wanted to give you guys a quick moment to mention any one of these films and any quick thoughts. Lacey?
Misunderstood, if you can find it, is devastating to watch. It's one of Henry Thomas's
Did you say devastating to watch?
Yeah, I mean it's traumatic. I mean it's very much a drama. It's not a fun movie to watch. But Henry Thomas is amazing. Also, connection. Henry Thomas was the person who played the McMartin. Remember the McMartin trial we were talking about at the very, very beginning? He actually played the son, the McMartin man.
I remember it was a TV miniseries or something like that. Was it a
movie 20 years later? Yeah.
Kyle, any thoughts on any of these films that are on the cutting room floor?
Come on, anytime you have a movie with Richard Roundtree, something fun is bound to happen.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because this is the movie I just want to say. Kill Point. I found this kind of by accident. Whenever I see these multi-action film collections, this one's called Maximum Action, 8-movie collection. It's got Tough to Kill, The Last 4 Days, The Silencer, Scorpion, Kill Point, 9 Deaths of the Ninja, Low Blow, and Top Cop. I always look at them because I found this at a thrift store. I'm like, well, are any of these going to be in upcoming time warps? And sure enough, Kill Point. This movie was just an excuse to make an action film with lots of blood and a lot of innocent people getting gunned down, guys. I like action movies with a lot of violence in them, but man, this one was just a little overboard. But it's got a cult following apparently, so I just want to mention that. All right, let's wrap this up, guys. This has been Time Warp 1984, the 40th anniversary, and we've been talking about the movies of March of 1984. And there was some top grossing film, guys, that we did mention in this one. And I just want to mention really quick that the ones that we did have, we had Splash at number 10 with 69 million. At number 8 was Romancing the Stone at 76 million. Police Academy, of the ones mentioned this month, was the big blockbuster winner with $81 million. Any final thoughts, any of these films you haven't seen regarding the March of 1984 that maybe you might watch? Kyle, start with you.
It's so solid of a month. I mean, the thing of it is that you look at it. I mean, it would be Romancing the Stone and obviously Police Academy for just its history, but you look at this and it's like, okay, this should have been the beginning of the summer movie season. This is, Kevin, we've talked about how the summer movie season is kind of bled. It starts all the way now in March. We feel like now, and this is kind of one of those examples. And you could say that except for the fact that the April movies are ugly after this, but you got some classics in here, and I don't know if there's any of that in here that I haven't seen that I want to go check out, but there's a lot of them I would definitely be up for revisiting again too. There's a lot of fun to be had in this group of movies.
What about you, Lacey?
I just ordered Tank.
Oh, good.
and as soon as I get it, I'm gonna throw that one in there. And I did order Splash because out of all the films that I've got, I realized the other day when I was like, I'm gonna watch Splash one more time before the thing. I don't own Splash. I don't have it. I know I had it on.
Oh wow.
So I did order Splash, which oddly no Blu-ray. What? Why?
Interesting.
Please.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kyle?
I was just gonna say this is a portion of the show where we're trying to get that Amazon sponsorship here for the Fandom Podcast Network.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle, because we've had fun with that. We've ordered stuff while doing the show through Amazon or whatever it is. But this is also, like I said, we do talk about films that we haven't seen, and maybe one of us has, and one of us haven't. And if there's something that we haven't, and you're like, oh no, I've seen it, you should watch it. Okay, we'll challenge each other to watch it. I don't know if there's really anything of these that I really want to jump out and go see. I did make the time to watch what I could. I might try to watch the Racing the Moon one with Sean Penn and Nicolas Cage because I do like the time frame that it's put in as well. So, but guys, we do have a little tease into next month, April of 1984. We've got some films there like Moscow on the Hudson, Suburbia, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, Up the Creek. We've also got some TV shows like Highway to Heaven and Double Trouble, Razorback, Swing Shift. I just watched that recently. I'll give my thoughts on that later. I'm going to try to find this movie called Hard to Hold with Rick Springfield, and they're playing with fire with Sybil Danning. And Where the Boys Are, 84. Have not seen that as well. So we got some fun stuff that we are looking forward to. And of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. If you're watching this, thank you very much. Give us a like and a subscribe. If you're listening to us, we appreciate that. Make sure you check out the video as well. fpnet.podbean.com is, of course, the master feed for all of our audio podcast. And please make sure you keep checking us out on YouTube. Check out the Fandom Podcast Network on all major podcast platforms. Fandom Podcast Network, of course, is on Facebook. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. And Fandom Podcast Network is also on Instagram and Twitter. My name is Kevin. I am on X / formerly Twitter and Instagram and Threads at Spartan_Phoenix. Kyle, where can we find you?
You can find me on the X at AKyleW or on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. And of course, it's around all over the place on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Yes. And Lacee, you're also on a lot of us with us here on the Fandom Podcast Network. If anyone wants to reach out to you.
Yeah, and I'm on Facebook, Fatal Lacey Pants. I have my Instagram is the Lacey Pants, I think, and Letterboxd.
I keep forgetting that too. Letterboxd too. I'm also on Spartan_Phoenix, so make sure you check that out. Kyle, you're on Letterboxd as well, right?
Yes, I am on Letterboxd. I can't remember what my handle is right off the top of my head. It's tax season.
Anyway, guys, this has been Time Warp 1984, Part 3, 40th Anniversary Movies and Pop Culture, and we gave March a run for its money. Some really good films. Anyway, join us next time for April. Until next time, guys, we will see you back in time.